Hello, and welcome to the podcast that knows, despite the push notifications we get all day telling us that the world is burning down around us, there is still good being created in the world, and we want to highlight it. Whether it's nonprofit leaders solving the world's biggest problems or a small business owner trying to make the world better with a great product or service, we want to highlight the ideas and strategies behind the good that's being made. So without further ado, you're listening to Creating Good, a podcast by Rogue Creatives hosted by me, Matt Barnes. Let's go. Hello.
Yo,
oh my gosh.
I'm Tiffany Pope, and you want to hear this flow into...
Flow does not rhyme with Pope. What is happening?
Kind of like Pope, flow. No, you're right.
No,
You're
not
right.
at all. Not even a little bit. What is
Okay, fine. Okay.
Oh, gosh.
Just trying to have my fame here, you know?
Your fame?
That was my one-hit wonder, actually.
It was not a hit.
Yeah, it was a hit.
It's a wonder that you did that. Welcome to Creating Good. I'm Matt Barnes.
And I'm Tiffany.
She raps now, apparently.
I do.
We'll have an intervention later.
I rap and I don't know how to act now.
Unacceptable.
I rap and I don't know how to act.
What? What's ooh about? What is exciting about that? That was terrible. That doesn't rhyme. It doesn't.
I appreciate your honesty.
I
mean, when are you?
You can always count on me for that.
Yeah.
That is one thing I'm here for.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. So welcome to Nonprofit not Nonprofit Connect.
Look
Creating Good. See, I'm. You've
Now
distracted me, and I'm. Wow.
Going back to your old ways.
Back to my old ways. No, this is Creating Good because that's what we're doing now.
Exactly. We're moving on.
We started a movement.
We did.
Yes, and
I mean, technically, I didn't. You did.
No,
but I like to say we did.
You didn't even come to the kickoff party.
But I was okay.
Okay.
I had class. Okay. No, don't. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it from you. I'm getting my education.
Anyway, we kicked off Creating Good a couple weeks ago now, and man, it's exciting. People are getting involved, and you, listener, can get involved because we have our Creating Good pledge that we are trying to get 50,000 people in the first year to take.
Let's go.
By our National Day of Creating Good next October 16th, we've declared National Day of Creating Good.
So good.
And so we're trying to get 50,000 people to take this pledge. And it's a simple pledge. You can go to creatinggood.co/pledge and take it. And you get a little digital badge you can put on your website or show on your social media. Spread it. We want more people because it's just about creating good in the world and getting people to do that.
Love it.
Yeah.
You have great ideas.
Well, thank you.
Whoa. I know. That was nice. Okay.
I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah, me neither.
Now,
move on.
Okay.
Please, let's move on.
Oh, my gosh. So this morning you were at my house helping with the children's, and I walked downstairs and you said, tomorrow I'm joining the dark side. And I said, what does that mean? And you said, use the context clues, figure it out. And so I said, are you watching Star Wars for the first time? And then you said,
I'm going back to Brown tomorrow.
No, you got to that. But first you said, oh, yeah, I guess I didn't give you any context clues.
Yeah. I did say that.
You set me up.
That would have been nice.
First up, the only context you gave me was Dark Side, which is a clear Star Wars reference.
And then I've never seen Star Wars.
Okay. So this will be Tiffany's last recording with us today.
It's been a good one.
Wow. And last week, you got replaced by a new co-host potential.
I did.
Mr. Wells, he kind of knocked it out of the park.
He did. I actually think he did better than me.
Well, I wasn't going to say that, but
well, I said it. So
he was pretty impressive.
I approve. He was great.
He was
so
wishy-washy on whether he was going to do it or not up until the moment I hit record.
Oh.
He was like, I want to do it. And then he was like, no, I don't want to do it. And then he was like, I want to do it. No, I don't want to do it. It just, you know Wells.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have a great guest here on the podcast today.
Yes, we do.
Speaking of amazing transitions.
Yeah.
I wasn't speaking of them, but that
was that a good transition?
Was a fantastic transition.
I don't think so.
Her name is Elizabeth Cushing, and this was really a fun interview for me because she is the director, president, and now CEO of Playworks, which they are helping students across America get the most out of recess through the power of play.
Aw.
I know.
That's so awesome.
And she had such great, just simple ideas and things that really are helping kids have fun and play, but also learn and grow and become better people all at the same time.
Can I sign up?
And no, I've been using some of this stuff on you unknowingly. But I have used some of this on my kids, and it's so great. I'm so excited about everything that Playworks is all about. They work with a lot of schools, and they're just doing amazing things. So we will be right back with Elizabeth Cushing from Playworks right after this. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Creating Good with Matt Barnes is brought to you by Rogue Creatives. I'm going to get straight to the point and tell you something that I know to be true about good design. If branding and design is good, it should feel like you met somebody when you encounter it. Like when you meet somebody, you don't know everything about the person, or in this case, the organization, but you get the vibe of who they are, right? Like you meet somebody and you just get that like, oh, I connect with you, or I don't. And it's super important to have that, because connecting with a character is how you bring people into your story. Think about your favorite stories. There's always a character you connect with there. And that's why Rogue Creatives has developed a 3-phase process that we use to develop your brand character, your personality, your voice, your values, and then make sure that it comes to life so that you're represented cohesively and accurately, no matter how people come into contact with you. Could be a business card or website or social media, video, print piece. It doesn't matter. They're connecting with that same brand character, that same personality, and being brought into your story. See, they connect with that, and then they want to know more. They come to you asking questions. It's so great. And the best part is it frees you up to do just what you love to do, while you can rest easy knowing that you're being represented out there so well and so accurately and so cohesively. And you have a team on your side making sure that it's happening consistently and cohesively all the time. So if you want that for you, and why wouldn't you, head over to roguecreatives.com/creatinggood to take our free online brand character quiz and schedule a free brand consultation. I don't know why I said free like that, but it was kind of fun. That's roguecreatives.com/creatinggood to begin defining your brand character today. We would really love to work with you. We worked with a lot of amazing organizations, nonprofits and for-profits alike, and helped them increase their funding and their reach as they connect with more people and bring them into their stories. There's no commitment or risk for you at all, and so we just want to meet you. We're waiting. We're sitting here. We're just going like, we want to meet you. We want to hang out with you. We could be best friends. We need new friends. I mean, we have friends, but it'd be good to have more. More friends is always good. Anyway, especially good ones like you. You'd be a good friend. Remember, that's roguecreatives.com/creatinggood to get started today. Rogue Creatives. Seriously, creative storytelling. And now, back to the show. Show. All right, I'm here with Elizabeth Cushing from Playworks. Elizabeth, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. I'm really excited to get to know you and what you do. Before we do that, though, we always start with a segment we call 3 random questions. So I've got a list of many, many random questions, and we randomly choose 3 of them. So here, are you okay with that? You going to be good?
I'm ready. It's a game. Of course I'm ready.
That's true. This is right up your alley, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So question number 1, do you drink coffee? And if so, what is your coffee order of choice?
When I drink coffee, my coffee order of choice is a cappuccino, because I studied in Italy in college, and it just takes me back to those days.
Where did you study?
Florence.
Me too.
Really? I was there in 1987.
Oh, yeah. I was there in 99.
Okay.
And oh, man, it was just the best. What school were you with?
I was with Stanford, and they had a program there. And boy, it was an eye-opening experience for a small-town girl from Oregon.
Yeah, I did a semester in London and a semester in Florence through Pepperdine. And man, it was so great. And all the gelato.
Yeah, that was a problem.
My wife and I went back on our honeymoon, and we did Venice and Florence, and we booked ourselves into Venice and then had no plan after that. So we stayed there for 4 nights and then would look on our phones and see where the weather was good and jump on a train and go. And we did that for 10 days. And it was just the best. But 20 years almost since I'd been to Florence, and going back and finding the gelato shop I used to go to. And so it's just the best. Man, there is nothing that gelato can't fix.
Absolutely true. I would go back in a heartbeat. Yes.
Okay. Second question is the film that never got a sequel but should have.
One of my favorite films is Stranger Than Fiction with Will Ferrell and Emma Thompson and Queen Latifah. And I just wanted to see what the next chapter of his life was.
That's a great one. That may be the best answer I've had yet. Very good. And I haven't asked that one too often, but yeah, that's a great one. Last question, and this one it should be really right up your alley. What was your favorite game growing up and why? This was not as random. We picked this one for you. It was on the list, but it was like, oh, we have to give her that one.
We love to ask that question. My favorite game then and now is Foursquare. I love it because it moves fast and you can have your strategies and there's a pretty wide range of skills and that still works. So I love that game.
And once you get in that fourth square, you got to hang on to it, man.
You want to hang on to it. Exactly.
And not let that go.
Exactly. I love it. Yes.
Awesome. Well, Elizabeth, tell me your origin story. Where did you come from and what was your journey to get to where you're at?
So I grew up in Oregon and in Medford, actually. And my parents were both very active in the community. My dad was on the school board. My mom was a volunteer for many things. And being part of community life was sort of part of what I was used to. We all went to church, etc. And so when I was nearing the end of my time at college, I was really driven by a motivation to make good in the world, to use my talent for good. I had no idea what that meant. So all of you early 20-year-olds out there, you're not supposed to know. The point is to get out in the world and try it on.
Thank you. We need that on t-shirts everywhere.
Yes, get out in the world and just try it on. And so I actually worked in healthcare for a little bit, found that wasn't giving me a whole lot of juice. And then when I was 25, I did the Coro Fellowship in Public Affairs, which is a graduate fellowship for 9 months. You spend 4 days a week assigned to different organizations in the public sector. So a government agency, a labor union, a nonprofit, a for-profit, a media organization, a political campaign. And I learned so much from having that experience and really found myself drawn to the nonprofit sector and specifically to mission-based work around children and women. And so that is what I have done ever since. And I've always been a person who is a generalist. I have lots of general skills, and then I apply them to, the problems at hand. And it's been completely satisfying the whole time.
So great. You and I sound very similar in that way. And it's funny because part of my background's in organizational leadership, so I'm fascinated by all this stuff. But generalists do tend to end up running the companies and all of that because I don't know what your experience was like, but for me, it was like people didn't know what to do with me. And I'm like, what do you mean? You can use me in so many places. Like I can jump over here. I can do that. I just don't know where exactly what you got to choose something. And I'm like, no, I don't,
Right. I can try different things. I think for me, the strategy that really worked was whenever something sounded challenging/interesting, I would raise my hand and volunteer, putting myself in those projects or initiatives where it needed to be figured out, always produced lessons for me and experience that I took forward.
And I'm guessing you're a person who enjoys a good puzzle, a good solution to find.
Absolutely. We could have a whole other conversation about how I'm addicted to the New York Times puzzles every day. Like to figure things out, especially when it requires adaptation of some kind.
Absolutely. That's right up my alley. This is great. So what brought you to Playworks specifically? And then you've had quite a few different roles there. What's that journey been like for you?
Yes. So when I came to Playworks, I just had my third child, who's now 20. And I was so focused on what do kids need? What is getting in the way of kids getting to thrive? And I stumbled across the organization here in Oakland where I live and was so taken with the idea that every kid deserves to play and all the good things that come from play. It's physically active, but it also is how kids learn to relate to each other. It's how they find joy. It's how they take risks and learn new skills in games they've never played before. And I think because I was a parent of 3 young kids, I was really steeped in that and looking for a way to use my talent to do something about that. The funny story is that I came in as director of evaluation and I had no business doing evaluation. I really had that generalist skills. The generalist skills are somewhat useful, but not exactly in the world of evaluation. What I landed right about the time that theories of change became a common thing that funders wanted to see and that organizations were working through. And so I was able to lead a process with the team who'd been at Playworks a while to develop the theory of change. And That went very well. The theory of change document we have now is actually pretty close to the one we started with then. It's evolved. And we have a real director of evaluation now who is fantastic. And so then I just started raising my hand for things. And we had the opportunity to apply for money from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation in 2004. They were interested in a new approach to getting kids moving. And we said, well, we are definitely that and more. And so that set us on a path of expanding beyond the Bay Area to other locations around the US. And it's been a wild ride ever since.
Very cool. I love this. It's so good. I'm so drawn to what you're talking about with Playworks and all of the benefits that come from play, because my first career was actually education, did a master's in education. And we miss so much of the fact that, especially younger kids, but kids in general, people in general, we learn through experience. We don't learn by cramming information. And learning through play is one of the most effective ways, especially with basic skills. I have 5 kids that are 6 and under. And so watching them as they are playing, that's when they're learning the most, is when they're playing. And we've gotten to really do some fun stuff. And the younger ones go to an environmental nature preschool where they're outside and they're interacting and they're playing. And it's just so funny. I talk with the teachers, the educators there, and the staff, and they get so much flack sometimes from the general community of like, oh, that's not the academic school, though. That's for the like kind of hippy dippy people. And but I'm going, I didn't grow up that way. I'm telling you from a research and just academic standpoint, that's going to lead to stronger academics. That's going to lead to stronger everything than even like Montessori or some of that other stuff. And I've just seen the results with my own kids. So I love what you guys are about. How does it actually play out? Like the mission of Playworks. I was like, play things, play something. But how does it play out and what does that look like?
So at Playworks, we really do believe in the power of play to bring out the best in every kid. And our job is to create these conditions where play can happen. Every kid gets in the game, kids are having fun, and it is a space of generative joy. And the way we do it is by partnering with elementary schools and K-8 schools. And we typically work with them to establish practices that we know work. And those practices include things like using rock, paper, scissors to resolve every conflict on the playground. And while that's an arbitrary game, when you set it up as a norm, kids will use rock, paper, scissors because they really want the game to keep going. They want to keep playing, so they'll accept an arbitrary result. And what we find in schools we work with is when you establish rock, paper, scissors on the playground, they will then use it in the classroom, use it in the cafeteria, and it makes the whole school day go more smoothly. We also insist that everyone's welcome in every game. We strongly encourage adults to get in the games at recess because when an adult models playing, they are signaling that play is important and that the kid is important that they're playing with. They also can model what happens when you get out. What happens when you're disappointed in a result? Well, you keep going. It's not the end of the world. And we teach a lot of games that are very fast moving, cooperative, or everybody's it kind of game. So Band-Aid tag, everybody's it. You tag someone, they put their hand on their arm where they got tagged, and now they only have one arm to tag. And you go to the hospital on the side and you do jumping jacks to get back in. The kids don't need a game where one person wins. They actually prefer games where everybody's getting to play. So we model a lot of games, and then kids will lead those games themselves. And recess becomes this space where it is predictable to them where the games are, what games are available. They can choose whatever they want to play. We don't tell kids what to play or where to play. And it becomes a time in the school day that contributes to their sense of belonging and engagement at school, improves adults' experience, actually. And then everyone realizes that, oh, this is how we create the conditions for learning all around. And that's how we partner with schools.
Learning and problem solving and working together and just all of that. When I see that with my kids, when they come home from school, the things that they're doing there, they bring home, they're doing that. And I don't know if that's where that came from, but rock, paper, scissors is their favorite thing. Maybe they have Playworks at their school. I don't know, but it's interesting to watch them as they have these experiences. Watch how a playground experience plays out. I don't get to see how it plays out in the classroom, but I see how it plays out in my house. And we basically have our own little daycare there with 5 kids. So the way they interact, and there's always things, but their problem solving skills and all of that, it's been really encouraging, again, as a former educator, to see, oh, wow, my kids are actually getting set up to learn some things in really good ways here. How does with Playworks, do you go into the schools and train the staff? Are you guys there on site? How does that work?
We do both. So we have some schools in 14 metropolitan areas where we place staff in schools and help create those conditions and support them, and then hand off in a year or 2 years the reins to the school. We train schools all over the country to do what we do. We have digital learning of how to do Playworks as well. And one of the tools we have is a measurement tool called the Great Recess Framework. And that was, we established it with the help of some academic researchers because there was no way to measure the quality of recess. And so actually your listeners, if they wanted to do a quick measure of the quality of recess at their own school, could go to recesslab.org, our sister website, and access the recess checkup and see. And they'll put in what they observed, and then they'll get a feedback report from us, because we wanted to help folks understand what high quality recess looks like, because high quality recess correlates to all sorts of outcomes we all want for our kids. They have executive functioning skills. They are resilient. They can work as a team. All of those things that we as adults want our coworkers and our representatives in Congress to have. These kids are learning on the playground. And when you pay a little bit of attention and invest a little bit in what is happening at recess, you can get those same outcomes, whether Playworks is doing it for you or not. We're trying to give away everything we know how to do.
I don't know what your memories are like, but when I was a kid, recess was open go time. Like there was no structure to it. It was, even as a kid, it felt like, oh, this is the teacher's break. Like we get to have a break, but this is also their break. A couple of them, they take turns kind of monitoring the playground or whatever and blowing the whistle. But there was nothing organized for us. It was on us to come up with the games or not, or whatever it was. But that intentionality, I see that a lot more in schools, even just driving by them and seeing the way their playgrounds are set up. It seems like there's more intentionality than there used to be. My kids, what's the game they always play? Gaga Ball?
Oh, Gaga Ball is a really fun game, yeah.
Yeah. They're obsessed with Gaga Ball. My son, who's 6, he's always playing Gaga Ball. And I'm like, what is this thing? I don't even know what it is. They've had to teach me. But it's something where you see, to the simplest form, it's something where kids can easily get excited about this. You can see it. So why not take advantage of that and make it a learning opportunity too, a growth opportunity? It's genius. So good.
It also can change the relationship between a child who's struggling with the institution of school and the adults in that school, because we give all the kids a chance to be leaders. Join me, Matt, and let's lead this game. And when a teacher sees one of their students who they've struggled to get to follow the norms or be on good behavior in the classroom, when they see them behave differently on the playground because they're being given a chance to lead a game, which is, if you're a child, a very natural act, that changes that relationship. And we start to see adults seeing capacity that maybe they didn't notice before. So we love that kind of outcome as well.
Like you said, these are the things that we look the adults around us sometimes and are like, ooh, nobody ever taught you that, And now to be intentionally instilling these things in kindergartners or whatever and up, it seems simple, but these are life lessons that they can take with them forever. And it's going to shape who they are.
So we actually play at Playworks as adults. We play the same games the kids play when we gather together or even on Zoom. And we do that not to say, oh, we're playing, but we do that to build relationship with each other. And the hierarchy falls away and we learn about each other personally. We get to know each other. And so the culture of Playworks is highly influenced by play itself. And I think that's why folks like to work.
Yeah, of course. When did Playworks actually start?
1996. So we're heading toward 30 years.
Wow. And I'm remembering the history here. You weren't there at the very beginning though, right?
I was not. No, I am the second CEO. I've been there 20 years in September, and I've been CEO since 2020.
Wow. That's so great. What has been some of the biggest challenges? Because you're a nonprofit. So you've got that side of things, which has so many of its own challenges. And then you're working with an education system and people who have very strong opinions about what education should and shouldn't be, some of whom are not so much qualified to have those opinions, and yet they have the power to implement them. What have been the biggest challenges and how have you approached them?
Yeah, so we specifically work in schools because that's where kids spend a lot of hours. And we saw an opportunity to make a real difference there. I think one Probably the biggest barrier is actually the belief in the system, in the power of play, and whether that goes beyond the idea that play is just a nice to have. We don't think that's true. We think for kids ages 5 to 12, where we center our work, that it's absolutely necessary to feel connected and like you belong at school and to learn the skills you and I were just discussing. And so sometimes it's difficult to be successful in persuading folks that this is an investment worth making. Playworks' financial model is 70% earned income from fees we charge the schools and 30% philanthropic income. And I'm pleased to say that a lot of our philanthropic income comes from foundations, corporations, individuals who really see the health and mental health benefits of play. So from that perspective, they totally get it, and less from the education side of the funding world. And so I think we are in a forever crusade to make the case that play is how kids learn to relate to each other. It's how we all learn to relate to each other, and we're all better off when every kid gets to play.
Man, that's so great. So when you do run into those roadblocks, though, what tools have been effective to bring people along in that? Or is it sometimes you can't and you got to move on?
Oh, definitely there's sometimes you can't. That is part of the reality. I would say we use validation from school principals, teachers, kids themselves, and families first. Those stories really can be compelling. We have amazing data on how play has built the kind of skills you and I discussed, but also how chronic absenteeism is less in many schools that have Playworks than it is in the schools up the street, and how the sense of belonging really improves. So we use data where we can. And the other strategy is we bring folks out to school and we let them see it, hear the joy, talk to the kids themselves. Pretty hard to leave a Playworks playground and not be convinced.
Really? That's awesome. That's so great. I tell people all the time, I say it on here all the time too. The biggest unintentional, I guess, side effect of doing this podcast has been just every week I get to hear these really amazing things that people are doing that I didn't know about. And this one is just so up my alley as far as the things that I'm passionate about and watching my kids. And a lot of that is I don't assume that that stuff is happening at school. And so we take it upon ourselves to make sure that that's happening in the home, but to have that backup, that kind of cooperative thing. And then for kids who don't have that at home, to be able to get some of those skills is so great. It's going to make them just better people all around. And it is so interesting because the studies, the research all shows that what you're talking about works, it's effective, it's the best way to learn. And yet some people are so tied to the traditional thought of how education should be and what academics should be and the scheduling and all that stuff, which is all tied to Industrial Revolution and all that. I mean, it's insanely outdated. It honestly wasn't even effective then, really. It just was what they had. They modeled it after what was going on in the factories. And people, that's the standard they hold things to. And when I was a teacher, I got in trouble with administrators when I'd be like, you're asking me to do something that I have data that shows is ineffective. And then they'd be like, don't tell, I was 23. So young and idealistic, thinking like, yeah, this is great. And they're like, ah, but it's a tough uphill battle. And I'm just so happy you guys are out there doing it. And thank you as a parent. I'm so appreciative that that's happening out there. And I'm so always concerned with the world. We all know has its challenges. But I think the key is let's make the next generation better than the last one. And these kind of things are fantastic with that. Absolutely. If a school is interested in Playworks, or do they tend to reach out to you, or do you guys go out to them? How does that work?
It goes both ways. If you are interested in potentially partnering, you can go to playworks.org and you'll see a map there, and you can click on the state you're in, and there's a way to send us an email and we can start a conversation. I would also suggest that if any of your listeners want to act on the idea that play is important, Playworks has a free game guide that's on playworks.org as well. You can download it. It has games categorized for all ages and different spaces physically, large group games, small games. They all are fun. They all build some sort of skill in kids, and just encourage you to go out and play yourself. That is how we're going to make sure that our culture takes up this idea that every kid deserves the chance to play.
So great. When you're saying that this morning at 6 o'clock, a little knock on my door, and my 5-year-old girl is like, Dad, let's go play. It's the first thing in the morning. And it's like, everybody, Dad, can we go play? And
Well, and did you know that play is a great way to have transitions? Transitions with kids are super hard. And if you say, we're all going to penguin walk to the car right now, it's way more fun and less of a chore than just walking to the car. So there are definitely tricks and tips that I used as a parent from Playworks as well.
absolutely. And this will be kind of the last thing. My middle son, we've just recently had diagnosed on the spectrum. And he's pretty high functioning, but transitions are one of the things he struggles with the most. And so we're always trying to figure out, because if he's not ready and we're suddenly like, let's go, we haven't given him the warning, the heads up, it can be very, very tough. But you're right. I mean, even with him, we always have to remind ourselves, if we can make the transitions better and more interactive and lighter and more fun, but it's not what we're trained to do as people. And so to stop and you're in a hurry to get out of the house or whatever, no one's thinking like, oh, let's stop and walk like penguins. But in the end, that would save us a lot of heartache and time.
Yeah. Or how many blue things can you touch between here and the car?
Yeah.
Things that move you forward, but are seemingly a game instead. It's a different way of thinking about how we behave with each other.
So great, man. And I think on the other side of that, like you'd mentioned other nonprofits, people listening, so many of the nonprofits I know that listen and that we work with kids. And to bring even play into the ways that they're working with those kids and finding ways to expand the ways that they're interacting and helping those kids to develop and grow is such a fantastic. I'm so glad you provide that resource. And you said it's at playworks.org, right? You can download that.
At playworks.org, and it's called the Game Guide.
I love it. So good. So everybody needs to go and get the game guide at playworks.org, like ASAP. I'm going to use it at home. I'm going to give it to my kid's teacher. Not that she's doing a great job. She's amazing. But any resources out there are always so helpful. So great. I have a few questions we always kind of close with, just sort of rapid fire or whatever. But who is somebody in the nonprofit world that you look up to or you would love to take to lunch?
The CEO of Marguerite Casey Foundation is Carmen Rojas. And Carmen is in philanthropy, and she is an advocate for children. She is an advocate for humanity, and she is not afraid to embrace the questions that we must ask ourselves if we're going to improve. And that is a skill I really admire.
That is absolutely the best. And you can speak a little even to how you've actually done this, but how can nonprofits support each other better through either collaboration or just sharing resources or sharing experiences?
Yeah. So the first way that I have seen that work well, and I've had the opportunity to be in communities with other nonprofit leaders, is to be curious about the other organization. What do they do? What do they do really well? What did they struggle with? And that curiosity goes a long way to building relationship and to identifying where there might be things that you can share. Playworks actually has a new collaborative model where we join with out of school time organizations like Campfire and Boys and Girls Clubs, and we give them everything we know how to do so they can support recess in the schools where they're also running out of school time. And there are so many benefits to working together in that space. So the kids get a consistent experience of play all day long. And what we found is if we can understand their aspirations and their challenges, fit our expertise into their model, then they can make more play happen. And we can step into the background. And that's all we care about. I don't care about Playworks getting the credit. I care about those kids playing. And so collaboration is a really powerful tool if you recognize that everybody in the collaborative needs to get what they are looking to get. And as human beings, we can deliver that if we pay attention.
Well, last question. What in your job brings you the most joy?
Okay, this is so easy for me. So the most joy comes from playing. And I know that sounds like duh, but when I can be in a game of Foursquare with our CFO and one of our coaches from the playground and someone from our IT department, and all those titles fall away, and we're just laughing. And honestly, we are trying to beat each other in the game of Foursquare. I'm having that human experience that should not be limited to children. It is, in fact, it is human. And the joy that comes from that and the understanding that it doesn't matter, it's low stakes, it doesn't matter who wins or loses, and we will all still be colleagues when it's done is so freeing.
So the loser doesn't get fired.
The loser does not get fired. In fact, the loser gets a high five and they get back in line. And I just think in a world where everything happening out in the world feels winner takes all, like that's it. And that's just not how human beings were designed. And so I get so much joy from playing because it feels in my cells like that's what I'm supposed to be doing.
Well, Elizabeth, you may officially be one of my new heroes. I love what you're doing. I love your heart. I love everything about it. I'm so excited about Playworks. I'm going to be telling everybody about you guys. I've heard your name, but I didn't know all the things that you're about. And this has been really great for me. And I know for our listeners, they're going to love it. Thank you for being here. And thanks for all your insights. Where can people find you, find more information about Playworks?
Sure. So playworks.org is the website. And I'm on LinkedIn, Elizabeth Cushing with a C. And this has been a lot of fun, Matt. Thanks.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Creating Good with Matt Barnes is recorded at Rogue Collective in beautiful Newport Beach, California. It's hosted and executive produced by me, Matt Barnes, with an assist by my chaos coordinator, Tiffany Pope. Production is by our amazing friends over at Fame, the B2B podcast agency, along with Belinda Carter-Thompson and the team here at Rogue Creatives. Production lead is Mike Love at Fame. Writing is by Will Ainsley at Fame and Matt Barnes and Taylor Bolanos of Rogue Creatives. Miguel Mendoza of Fame is our audio editor, and Arslan Yakub from Fame is our video editor. Creative direction and design is overseen by Corey Hill of Rogue Creatives. Our artwork is designed by the Rogue Creatives team and Rufino Mejia of Fame. Theme music is composed and performed by Jared Atherton of Chapters. Marcus Ponta and Mike Love of Fame do our booking and guest relations. Huge thanks to our amazing guests for joining us for this episode, and thank you to all of you incredible listeners for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, and if you're still listening at this point, I'm assuming you did, don't forget to help us spread some good by giving us a good or great review. Preferably the, 5 stars kind with really nice words, telling us how much you loved it, telling everybody else how much you loved it. Also, tell your friends and subscribe so we can come straight into your potholes each and every time we have a new episode. For more information about Creating Good or to join us at a live event in Orange County, California, visit our website at creatinggood.co. We'll catch you next time. This has been a Rogue Creatives production.